Welcome to the Still Strong podcast. Here we talk about unfading strength, tested by life, forged through faith, and proven over time. Steve Brady.
How you doing?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Steve, before I give you this introduction,
Okay.
I remember the first time I met you. I had bought some property in Clewiston, and you were out there checking on your cows in your police uniform and your
That's right. Yeah.
patrol car.
Yep. I remember now.
I shook your hand, and I knew there was a story behind your handshake. You know, there's certain people you can just tell that there's a story behind there. And when I decided to do this podcast, I went through my contacts, my phone with people that inspired me.
Right.
Not necessarily people I knew real well, but people that inspired me. And you're the first one on my list. So that's why you're here on episode one.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right, episode one. So here we go. Let me give you a proper introduction. Captain Steve Brady, a 30-year Lee County Sheriff
Yep.
officer.
That's right.
25 years of that was with SWAT,
Yes, sir.
which I'm really interested to hear about that.
Well, that's what we're here for.
You were a 7-year Army Airborne MP,
That's correct. Yes, sir.
married to the same woman for 37 years.
Yep. Beautiful wife, Karen.
Karen,
Yep.
and my wife's
Yeah,
name's
we have
Karen.
something in common.
Yeah, we got the same woman. You have 2 children, a boy and a girl.
Yes, sir.
I've met both of them.
Yes, you have.
Your son is cut from the same cloth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Big,
Yep.
strong kid. By the way, is he still working for Curran Young?
No.
He's not there anymore?
No, he works for Coastal.
He works for Coastal now?
Yep.
I met your daughter. I think you had referred her to me about a
Yes. A
about
project.
A project.
Yes.
You
Yep.
got her.
Yeah, it was a
and,
renovation project for her friend's business
Yeah.
downtown Fort Myers.
Yeah, and anyway, just a little bit I interact with your kids says a lot about you. You got good kids, man.
That's great. Yeah.
And you got 7 grandchildren.
Yeah, they are a delight.
They are. So you, like me, you like taking your grandkids out to the property out there in Hendry County.
Absolutely.
And a couple times we've been out there at the same time, and I've had the privilege to meet some of your grandkids. And again, I observe people, and seeing a big, strong guy be gentle with his grandkids, that vibed me. I watched
Yeah.
you. I watched
Okay.
you. So 7 grandkids, and then you are a part-time cattleman and beekeeper.
There you go.
Beekeeper.
Like I don't have enough to do already, you know?
You like me, man. Always hustling.
Always
I got a-
hustling for the side hustle, yeah.
I got a gift for you here, a Still Strong hat. This is a Richardson
Richardson 112.
112
There
trucker.
you go. That's
I don't know nothing
the
about
only
these.
Yeah, yeah.
All I
Those
know,
are the
my
kind.
kids said these are the best. So I
Yeah,
said,
they are.
only the best.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there you
112s. Well, I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
Yeah. Well, I brought a little something for you as well. Jar of honey here from my hive out
Oh,
there in
good
Clewiston,
deal.
right next to your property. They
Good
probably
deal.
got the nectar from some of your plants. you know?
Nice. S&K Cattle
So,
Company.
Yeah.
100% raw honey. Good deal. Thank you, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it. All right. Well, let's get started here.
Okay.
We'll just start from the beginning, and then wherever we start vibing, we can just drill down on.
Absolutely.
All right. Where were you raised? Where'd you grow up as a kid?
I was born out in California, in Glendale, California, Southern California. Born there, raised there, between there and Oregon. The first part of my childhood was spent out in Southern California. Then my parents split up when I was 12, and then my mom took us and we went to Oregon, where everybody's from. Basically, both families are from Oregon, so that's where we ended up. And I was able to, learn and do quite a bit, in that time in both locations. That's what basically developed me and created the foundation of who I am now.
So your parents were divorced when you were 12.
Yes, sir.
How many siblings did you have?
Just my brother and sister. Yeah.
You the oldest?
My brot's older, and then I have a younger sister.
So you're right in the middle.
Yep, middle kid, the trouble kid.
Were you trouble kid?
No, just, rambunctious, and very adventurous.
Your siblings, you tight with them?
Very, yeah,
Good.
very, yep. My sister was younger, so she came along, 6 years later. So, I mean, as far as hanging around doing stuff, we probably didn't as much as my brother and I did. We did everything. He's 4 years older than I am, but
Mm.
we joke about being feral children. Back in the '60s and early '70s. That's just the way you were raised.
Yeah.
Feral kids, man, get out of the house and
Yeah.
just go do,
Yeah.
and that's, man, we did everything. Everything was an adventure,
Good.
and a journey. So
So before you're 12, when your parents were together, what did your dad do for a living? What was life like?
my dad retired from LAPD. He was a police officer, Los Angeles Police Department. Yep. And spent, I think, 28 or 29 years there
Mm.
as a cop. He retired eventually. Yep. And just a hardworking guy, good father, hardworking guy. Um, when he wasn't working at the police department, he was always, doing something around the house. Just a handyman, and always got a project going, and real good with his hands and building things, and just real strong work ethic, so.
Mm. So we'll talk about this later, but one of the questions I was going to ask you is where you ended up today. Who was the primary influence on you? It sounds like it was your dad.
Well,
You're a police officer.
yeah, my dad was an influence, but I think the primary influence was my mom.
Really?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your mom.
Yep.
And take all the time you need.
Yeah, she was just
Mm.
just a wonderful woman, and just the quintessential, housewife, mom, typical of that generation. And just, she was our biggest cheerleader, and just, just told us, we could do anything we wanted, I mean, we could be anything we wanted, and just was really a huge supporter of us, and took just wonderful care of us, as kids. And, we weren't a rich family or nothing, just typical working class family. And she stayed at home and took care of the house, and, and dad worked, and, all that. But man, she could cook anything, make anything. She made all our clothes, or, our Halloween costumes, and, just was very involved in our development, our growing up. And like I said, she was the biggest, supporter of us, our biggest cheerleader. And I think probably because I spent more time with her, because, once they split up, we obviously left and went to Oregon. But, I think she's probably the biggest influence. My dad was a huge influence, but, I spent more time with my mom. So, just it's the way the numbers fell. But, her, just her encouragement, all the time. She was always positive about us and anything we wanted to do or could do. And she was there, had our backs. And so really,
So when you left with your mom for Oregon, how did your relationship with your dad transition? Obviously, he's in California and Oregon.
Yeah. It didn't really change, I don't think, that much. I mean,
You didn't see him as often.
No, not as often. He's a great dad. He's alive. He's still alive. He's a great dad. Awesome father. Love him. And he was a hard ass. And so
Sure.
it wasn't the hey buddy kind of relationship.
Understood.
And so, but
that's
what we needed as kids.
And that's indicative of that generation.
Yes, absolutely. He came from a harder generation.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I mean, he was great. Loved having him, as a father. And, he would work us hard, but he also let us play hard, and there was rewards too,
So at 12 years old, you moved to Oregon with your mom. Did she remarry? Like, what was that?
Eventually,
transition?
yeah. Eventually she remarried. Yep. Yeah.
So you said eventually.
Yeah.
So single mom.
She was a single mom for a while. Yeah. Good while.
So single mom working
Yes. Yep.
and
Yep.
taking care of all you
And taking
guys.
care of us. Yeah. Thing is, when we moved to Oregon, we moved in with her parents. You know, basically moved. We bought their home, and
Got
then
it.
they had a 2 acre piece of property there. We bought their home that my grandfather built from the ground up by hand. Like kind of, he was a construction guy like yourself. So he built this small home and back in the 50s, and so we ended up buying that, and then they got a manufactured home, put it right next door, and then
Good.
they moved into that. So yeah, so we had a support system there as well.
Good.
Family is always important,
Good.
to have as support.
Listening. Uh, listen to you talk about your mother. I had a conversation with my mother on Thanksgiving, and I remembered I unlocked a memory when we were kids. My mom and dad had 5 of us, and I unlocked a memory that we would fill the bathtub, and the bath water never got changed out until the
Right.
last of us had a bath.
Yeah.
My parents never talked about finances, but I knew that we were living differently than everybody else.
Sure. Yeah.
And the reason why the bath water never got changed out is because we had a water bill.
Right.
So there was a cost associated with that. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I had this memory. And she said, she said, your dad's always been good at working hard and making things happen. She said, you have that in you. She's like, Keith, you see opportunities. And she's like, it just amazes me how you can just take an opportunity and run with it. She said, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I know how to make a little, stretch it out.
Oh, yeah.
It'd go a long way.
Yeah, that's how my mom was.
That sounds like
Exactly.
your mom. When you were talking about your mom, I was like getting emotional because that's my mom.
Yep, 100%.
My mom could stretch. She could stretch, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, they come from that generation of, because her parents were Depression. My mom's parents were Depression era. They they fled the Dust Bowl, in the Panhandle of Texas, and ended up out in Oregon. So, and they had 2 nickels to rub together. That's about it, and so they made, like you said, they made a lot out of a little.
Talking about how life was and how you said your mom was your primary rock, your person, and my mother also. And then you look at children nowadays that mom and dad are both working.
Yep.
To make ends meet, and how vital it is for children to have a mother's influence.
100%. 100%.
It's a struggle for families financially to make ends meet. And it's a huge sacrifice on the family. It's a huge sacrifice on those children.
Yes.
That need the influence of a mother.
Oh yeah. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Yeah.
I've been blessed that my wife, we have 7 children. I've been blessed that she's been able to stay home and take care of our kids. In the beginning, listen, Steve, in the beginning, she was 18, I was 20 when we were married. Had children right away. In the beginning, by the time I paid my bills, I'd have $20 left over for the month.
Right.
That's how tight it was. There was no room in the budget for any hiccup. At $20, we'd get a pizza and a movie, and like we were happy.
Right.
We were happy. So this is just my own. This is just me talking. This whole keeping up with the Joneses thing.
Right.
Getting in the debt, and like I don't know how much that has to play, but there's something to be said for keeping life simple within your means and trying to keep mama with those babies as long as possible. Because it influenced me.
Oh yeah.
And it influenced you.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I'm not belittling or demeaning or saying, casting aspersion on people that have to do what they have to do. I'm just saying it was a lot better back in the day.
Oh yeah, I believe so. And I think every generation has its challenges,
Mm,
and you know, the older generation's always, you know, complaining about the younger generation.
sure.
But you know, every generation has a different challenge, faces different things,
Yeah.
and but I still, I feel like you said that that core family is what develops you, you know,
Mm,
and when you have a mom that's able to raise you, and a father that's in the picture, uh, you know, you know, it develops you
sure.
differently, you know. And I was fortunate, you know, with my mom and my mom and dad. And, you know, I, of course, you know, I only have two children, and, you know, we worked, you know, we both had to work. It was just part of the way it
Sure.
was, you know.
Sure.
And, but again, when we moved to Florida, and, you know, right out of the military, we, we moved in with her parents,
Mm,
and then, you know, slowly, you know, developed from there, got our house and everything. But her parents, we continued to maintain that family, that family unit, where you have support
there you
from a
go.
family.
There you
And
go.
that her parents were a huge part of our life, and my kids' lives.
Good.
So, you know, in a sense, they helped raise my children as well. So we had a huge support system there, and that was perfect for
Yeah.
us, and it worked. And it's kind of passed down to my son, who's got seven children like yourself,
Mm,
but they're making it work. You know, his wife stays at home and homeschools all those children,
wow.
and you've seen the difference in them. You know, you've met those kids, and my son and everything, and it's you know, there is a difference. You know,
Family's important.
mm-hmm.
Family is the core of civilization.
It is 100%.
And
And when that family unit starts to break down, that's when
mm,
values start to break down, and that's when society starts to
and
get out of whack,
and we're gonna
and you
get
get
into
crazy ideas.
we're gonna get into that because of
Yeah.
your job that you're in. You see it
Yes.
every day.
All
Let's
the time.
save that. We're gonna get into that.
Sure.
That's good. So 12 years old, you're with your mom, living with her family. She eventually remarries. Let's talk about your high school days. Did you play sports, or
Oh
like what
yeah.
was your high school days like?
Yeah. High school was great. You know, my childhood was just awesome. I just, I couldn't say it anymore. You know, uh, played in, you know, any team sport we could. I've been in part of a team my whole life,
Mm,
basically. And, excuse me, starting with, you know, just school sports, and, you know, played basketball and wrestled, football, the whole bit, you know, and track and
were you a
field.
decent athlete?
Yeah, yeah, I was, you know,
Good.
but you know, just had a blast. You know, high school, I wasn't the top student in the world, but I
Right.
had fun, and I just, you
Good.
know, it was high school was a social thing for me. You know, I mean, I learned, and I did my
Sure.
thing, I did what I was supposed to do, but back then, of course, high school was, you know, a lot of vocational stuff, you know, and welding and
Mm,
shop, everything, all the stuff that, you know,
you're hitting some
that we
good
wish we would
points.
have more of now.
Man, you're
So
hitting.
that's what you know, I aced those classes. We had agriculture classes, you name it. So, you know, most of my day was either in the welding shops or wood shop or in the tractor shop, you know, or something. And so, uh,
Let's hit that for a minute because not everybody's built to sit and stare at a blackboard for hours a day.
oh man,
I'm not built that way.
no,
I gotta
neither
go
am I.
outside. I gotta put my hands on something.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta like that. So we're all built to learn differently. And to take away again, this is just my point of view.
Sure.
To take away a way of learning, hands on,
Yes.
I don't think
There's nothing better.
it hasn't proven to be good for us.
Yeah.
And they're even taking away kids' recess time. Listen, you
Yeah.
learn a lot by play.
Oh
It's
yeah,
proven.
social
Kids learn
skills. You
by
learn social skills. You
there
learn how
you
to get
go.
along. You know, you learn conflict resolution. You learn everything in recess. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
you learn how to talk to people. You learn how to talk to girls. You learn how to talk. You know, like that. You learn
sure.
how to. You might learn how to fight too. You know,
Yeah,
might learn how to lose.
that's good too.
So yeah,
So high school, any
high school was great. I had um, really no intention. I knew early on, you know, as a kid, just from seeing my father, he was a military guy, and then he was a cop, you know.
okay.
So I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. You know, that's what you do. And of course, I wanted to be everything else. My grandfather, my grandparents, he was a carpenter and a cowboy and everything else, so I wanted to do everything, but, pretty much knew right away, look, I'm going to go into the military regardless. I don't, that's just my destiny. I'm going to the military, and college wasn't even a thought, a consideration. And, and exactly what I did,
I I was homeschooled,
hmm
and a lot of my homeschooling, my dad would send me to work for people.
Right.
Every summer I was working on a construction site.
Okay.
I graduated high school. My dad said, "Hey, you're gonna go to college." I said, "No, I ain't going to college.
Right.
I already got a taste of how to make money."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And he's like, "No, you're gonna go. You want to try it out for a year." I almost made it a year, and I got kicked out. I got kicked out, came back, and started working framing houses.
Yeah,
Boy,
there you go.
eating it
Hey,
up. So
we're right back to what you knew,
college isn't for everyone.
No, it's not. And I'm not going to bash college, because I went to college. I got out of the military and I went to college and got a degree, did all that. But it can be important, and for some people it is and everything. But it's not the end all do all. You don't need it. You don't need it to survive. You don't need it to be successcave.
Well,
Believe me, there's
the thing is, we're all cut different cookie cutters. We're
Yes.
not all the same.
Right, exactly.
And we should leave some room for the oddballs.
Yes, yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So
And that's, and I've always been a hustler, I've been hustling since I was a kid. When I was 8 years old, my dad, my dad, he kind of, my brother and I hatched this plan. We were going to come to him with this proposal about, hey, we need an allowance, right? And because, we had chores to do every day and a bit. And then on the weekends, if we were doing whatever projects, we were with him, and, and we were always like, man, what, because other kids were getting allowances. We're like, why don't we get an allowance, So,
yeah,
so we went to him with our hat in our hand. Hey, Dad, and sold him on this plan. Said, we could really use an allowance. And he's like, I can imagine what he was thinking,
Sure.
kind of chuckling in the back of his head. He's like, okay. So he ended up saying, all right, he agreed to it. He gave my brother, he said, oh, this is what we'll do. Every Sunday, I'll give you an allowance. Bob is my brother. He gets 50 cents, and me, I get a quarter. And I was like, and we're like, oh, okay. And I was like, I didn't, my dad's a guy, you don't argue with him, you
Sure.
don't, you're just kind of like, yes, sir, kind of,
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. But I'm thinking, I'm like, man, why am I getting the short end of the stick here? I'm like, well, why does he get more, And, well, he's older. I'm like, well, that didn't make any sense,
Yeah.
And of course, my brother, he was like, well, yeah, because I'm bigger,
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
But it was funny. So we, from that, I was like, you know what, that's just not enough, So I started hustling, doing my own
Wow.
stuff, and where we lived, we lived in a rural equestrian area, so I could always make money. I could always make money, training people's horses or cleaning their stalls or something. And I also started my own little shoe shine business,
Oh, wow.
because we had a truck stop next to our we lived in this village, and there was a truck stop there, and I could go over there. And as a kid, as an 8-year-old kid, I could go make $20 in a day
Wow.
shining shoes over there, shining boots, these truckers' boots. And so as a kid, I had all kinds of money,
Yeah.
because that allowance was like, man, I ain't gonna cut it.
No.
I need to go make my own. So my brother and I were always hustling on something. We were selling things or mowing yards or doing something, and so.
Before we get into your transition from high school to the military, other than your parents' divorce, was there any other adversity or hardship that, looking back, that you overcame that was difficult? Like, did your dad intentionally make life hard for you to make you who you are now? Like,
No,
was there
not a
anything
bit,
like-
not a bad, not a bit. Like my dad, he did the best he could, and I think that generation, there was a lot of divorce, and I think just the something about the 70s, maybe, I don't
Sure.
know, but no, he did, he's a wonderful man and a good guy. He never did anything to make our lives miserable.
I'm
matter
not
of fact,
talking
he
about making
did-
your life miserable. I'm talking about, there is something about putting pressure on a kid. The Bible says it's good for a young man to bear his burden early, to get
Mhm.
used to that weight. My dad would put
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad would
Oh,
put
you're talking about
my
that.
dad-
Yes.
My dad would put
Yes.
chores and stuff on me to make
Yeah.
my life heavy,
Oh yeah.
That I look around and say, I see my friends playing, and
Oh,
I'm over here doing
100%.
this
Yeah.
and that. So was there any of that
Oh,
that you can
100%. Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
made you who you are now?
Yes. My brother and I, he'd be like, "Get up, let's go. We're working." And um, we've got things to do this weekend, and all right, we never complained. We actually enjoyed it for the most
Sure.
part. There was times man, I wish we could be out, down in the river
Right.
playing or riding horses or something, but because it seemed like he always turned it into an adventure, but he worked our asses off,
Mm.
and it was hard work.
Probably kept you out
And
of trouble.
yeah, yeah, it kept us out of trouble. But we were, putting a roof on a house or doing
Mm.
something, always had and he really instilled, and that's where I said, the distinction between my mom's influence and his influence. She's the one that, created my personality and developed my spiritual foundation.
Mm.
My dad was the guy that developed the, the work ethic and the hard work and work for what you earn what you get,
There you go.
and it's out there, go out and get it. And he even told me when I was complaining about the allowance thing. He's like, well, go out and make some money then.
There you go.
Go
Good.
there's jobs out there. I'm 8 years old. I'm like, all right, I'm doing it,
And here's the thing: if he would have given you more than the 25 cents, you'd been like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is plenty."
Yeah,
But it wasn't
exactly.
enough, so
Yeah,
you
it
had to go
wasn't enough.
find
Yeah,
more. So
yeah,
that's a
exactly.
good lesson.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, we joke about it, my brother and I. It's like, what we could do with 50 cents, because I'm doing the math, going, it's gonna take me a month to make $1. Now, in this bit early 70s, $1 did get us something,
Yeah.
but it wasn't much, But
Yeah.
we did learn how to save and do all that. But yeah, my dad was real, taught us about being self-sufficient and doing things yourself and working hard. And, if you want something, do it, make it,
Good.
fix it, and so yeah, that's how that ended up.
I want to move on to your time in the military, but you said something that sparked something with me. You said you learned your spirituality from your mother.
Yeah.
Can you
Mhm.
expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, from early on, she's a devout Catholic, and was that to the day she died. And so, but yeah, we went to Catholic school, and the whole bit. And of course, my dad supported that. My dad's not the most religious guy. Don't really know much about his thoughts on that. But my mom was very, that was how it was going to be, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, And so, she had us in Catholic school, and did the whole thing. And again, my brother and I, we still joke about Catholic school and all the the things you hear about it, and most of them is true. So just the craziness. But yeah, it really shaped our faith and our spiritual foundation. And I'm not a Catholic to this day, but it's still, it shaped my Christianity, my faith, and that sort of thing. And she's the one that really made that happen, and guided us in that direction.
It's the way I believe, according to the Bible, is that it's the husband and the father's responsibility to take that role. But even in our church, you see a mom bringing the children, and the dad's not. So
I'd say 90% of the time it's the mom.
It's the mom.
Yeah, it's the women.
It's not the way it's intended to be. But
It's
that
not,
though these
yeah.
mothers, you see these mothers taking on roles that aren't necessarily designed to be theirs. But
Right.
thank God that they pick up that
They can
mantle,
adapt.
that they
can
pick
adapt
it up
and pivot. Yeah.
and do it.
No, you're right. And because like I said, my own personal, view on how society should, men have certain roles, women have certain roles, and
there you go.
And with the women are the nurturers, and they make the home, they make the home a home, and they raise the children, and they provide a loving atmosphere. Men are the doers, the providers, and the protectors of society.
Sure.
And, they do man stuff, and but like you said, sometimes mom has to
be
pick
both.
up. Yeah, she has to fill in those gaps,
Yeah.
where sometimes a man fails.
And thank God that they do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, thank God they do. All right, so military, you finished high school?
Yep. Yeah.
And
went straight into the military. I had signed up early. I just knew early on, that was going to join the military. And so my brother had gone in before me. And so I kind of, got an idea, okay, because I didn't know which one I was going to go into.
Okay.
And he joined the Army and um,
Did you guys happen to be at the same in at the same time?
for a short time, yeah, we were in at the same time. He was obviously he's 4 years older, so he went in, a couple years before I did, and then I joined as soon as I got out of high school and joined, and he was over in Germany. I ended up in the States here in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then yeah, I did almost just shy of 7 years there.
So what were some of the lessons you learned in that
A lot,
time in your life?
man, a lot. It was great. I was, I would encourage anybody that's doesn't have a direction or just doesn't have an idea of what they want to do or where they want to go, give it a try, Worst you can do is, finish out your tour and get out. But it develops a lot in a young man. Fortunately, I had a lot already, I already had
You had a good base.
a good base going
Yeah.
into it. And so I thrived in it,
Yeah.
and basic training, it was a breeze, because I was, like I said, I was an athlete. So, none of the physical stuff really mattered to me. And so I just, I made it through, no problem. And then, but yeah, I think it develops your sense of leadership. It develops, your sense of teamwork and that sort of thing. But I think the biggest thing I learned from that, and I've told my son this, and he's learned the same thing because he did the military as well. But you learn a lot from watching others, and when it comes to leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're not a leader, when you're just a private, Joe Schmo, you look around and I always gravitated towards the good leaders, the guys that said, okay, that's what I want to be. That's the kind of guy I want to be. And I always tell people, when you're in a situation, in a leadership situation or anything like that, look around and try not to be the guy that's a horrible leader. Find the guys that are horrible and not be that guy.
So I told you anytime that you say something that vibes with me, we're going to drill down.
Sure, absolutely.
Because that vibes with me. Because there are people that want to be leaders. They're trying to be leaders, but they're not leaders.
They're not.
They're not leaders. And it sounds like, from my experience, the ones that bark the most are not the leaders. The ones that are constantly saying, hey, follow me. Hey, do what I say. Hey, let's go this way. It's the one that's quiet in the room. Mm-hmm. That one that brings steadiness to the situation.
Yeah.
The one that, when the crap hits the fan, you'd be like, that's the guy I want to be with, not the guy that's barking.
Right.
And so, yeah, leaders in life, you talk about, we just get finished talking about family.
Yeah.
A father is a leader.
Yeah.
A father that just has that quiet steadiness settles that whole home, man. And it creates 100%. An environment that, what, this is hard, but it's going to be okay. So you talk about what you learned about leadership and following certain leaders, watching leadership, man, vital.
That's the best thing you can do is sit back and watch and say, I'll follow that guy, but I won't follow that guy. So I'm going to learn how to do what that guy does, and learn what not to do from that guy.
Because you want to be a good leader. You want to be someone that can be trusted. 100%. Someone that say, "Hey, boys, let's roll," and that the job's going to be the job's going to be accomplished.
Yeah, and I've had to do that. I've had to learn that, and that's how I've had to apply that. In my 30 years, and I've had to apply that a lot. And so, if you want to get a team of 25 guys to go into a building that's that you might not come out of, you have to be able to get them to do it, convince them that this is, not convinced, but guide them,
right.
And have them knowing that, have them know that you're there and they're safe, So, but yeah,
you'll have to forgive me, airborne MP. I don't I think airborne. Did you jump out of planes?
Yeah.
I'm thinking airborne. You jump
Yeah,
out
yeah.
of planes. So that's
we're
that's a cool
paratroopers.
thing to
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about something cool for a minute. All
Okay.
right. So tell me some cool stories.
Well, hey, it was a blast, man. Went to yeah, I was at Fort Bragg, and that's home of the airborne, special operations and the whole bit. So yeah, it lucked out. It's funny. I joined the Army on an open contract, and which means you just join and they send you wherever.
Okay.
And so I wanted to be an MP. I'm like, okay, I want to be an MP because my dad was an MP, and so I was like, all right, be an MP, and I signed up. Send me wherever. And so when they were reading out assignments, they were like, hey, Brady, you're going to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I was like, okay, wow, that's a long way from home. It's a complete other end of the country, but
Right.
that's fine. That's what I'm here for. I love adventure. That's what I do. And so I ended up there, and I remember my drill sergeant going, oh, hey, you can go airborne. And I was like, well, what's that? And I didn't know that. And he said, oh, you're jumping out of planes. I'm like, okay, great. So got there,
So
and
pause a minute. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
All right. So you're tall. You're on the taller end of the spectrum, but
Yeah.
I don't picture big tall guys jumping out of planes. Like,
Oh, yeah, no, there's a lot of, yeah.
okay,
It's
all right.
all sizes.
I don't know why I had that mental picture, but I
Yeah.
just didn't have a picture of this big old.
I'm probably not as tall as I was because I had a really hard landing. So
All right. All right, so keep
that
going.
ended my
All right.
airborne career. But yeah, no, I got to Fort Bragg and was able to go airborne and just had a blast, man. It was a good time, and jumping out of planes and going to the field all the time. And
So talk about the first experience of jumping out of a plane. What was that like? Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely remember. It's funny because you talk about faith and all that. At Fort Benning, Georgia, where the jump school is, there's a little chapel right next to the barracks where everybody stays, and nobody goes into this chapel, right? Except the day of the jump. It's funny because that place is jam packed, full of paratroopers praying about their first jump. It was hilarious, because because I went in there, just because they offered it. They're like, hey, chapel will be open and stuff.
Yeah.
The place was jam packed. Any other day it wasn't, but yeah. So no, yeah, first jump is just, you just a lot of, that's where you really have to rely on faith too. You're like, you know what? And God put me here for a reason, and he's gonna either get me through it or have a different plan for me. So, but yeah, it was a little, just a little nervous, just like anything else. And
But you trust your training, and you just
100%, yeah, knew everything's gonna work out. Because the way I look at it, I'm like, look, there's been 100,000 other paratroopers before me, and there'll be another 100,000 paratroopers after me, and so they've done something right, and the odds are in your favor. So
one of my daughters, for her 18th birthday, she wanted to jump out of a plane, and I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah,
like I can walk on the peak of trusses, you know what I mean, but
right,
but I have control over that.
Sure.
Like, anyway, so I'm like, I'll go with you. I was like, man, what am I doing?
Would you go out to Clewiston?
We went out to Clewiston. I went out to Clewiston. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
But I took a freaking Xanax before we went.
Oh Lord.
Took a freaking Xanax when we went, and I jumped. Did it. Got motion sickness almost to the ground, and just laying there puking on the ground just because I, got the motion sickness. But listen, that Xanax didn't kick in until the drive home. And my daughter's like, Dad, car. I'm like, what? I'm like, what's wrong? Like, I feel like I'm good.
Yeah.
But apparently I wasn't good. Apparently I was all over the place. So if you were working that day and behind me, you would have probably grabbed me.
Yeah, that's
but
funny.
she's like, I took the Xanax too late. It didn't kick in until the drive home. And apparently it was the drive was more scary than the jump.
Probably, yeah. She probably remembers that more than the jump. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
But yeah, it was a good time, man. And so I spent just shy of 7 years there at Fort Bragg, and I mean, I did a year in Korea during that time as well. But
you did.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then we got out.
So when you got out, how old are you now?
27. 26 or 25, 26.
25.
Yeah, when I was 18. So just 25ish.
25-ish.
Yeah.
You haven't met your wife yet.
No, I did. We met in the Army. We got married while I was in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
Her
did
brother was my roommate.
Okay.
And we were both
good.
paratroopers together. And
Nice.
he's my roommate. And she had come up to see him. And, we met and kind of hit it off. And that's
good.
kind of where it went from there. And then right before I was headed to Korea, I had re-enlisted, and I took Korea as an option because it was only a year-long tour, and I would be right back to Fort Bragg, because if you're airborne, you pretty much you stay at Fort Bragg, So, and we were dating at the time, so I said, well, I don't want to be gone longer than I have to, and so I re-enlisted, for the Korea option, and we had been dating and whatnot. But then, literally right before I left for Korea, she says, "Hey, I'm pregnant." So, okay, well, I guess I'm getting married before we go to Korea. So
yeah, that was my next question.
That's a story in itself there.
Wow.
Yeah, we got married in 4 days, man.
Wow.
I had already left. I was getting ready. I was leaving for Korea. And I was out and visiting my dad and my mom. I had a couple weeks leave, and we had I'd been out there, and she calls, says, "Hey, I think I'm pregnant." It's like, oh boy, okay, well, let's get hitched,
Yeah.
So she I forgot what day it was on, but she had to run to the clerk of courts down to the courthouse and get a marriage certificate or a marriage license and whatnot. And like, well, I'll get a flight and I'll head back, and this was on a Friday. Matter of fact, it was on a Friday. Well, we'd start talking like Thursday night. She was telling me, I said, so Friday she had to get the ball rolling.
Right.
And it was funny because my mom and dad, they didn't know they kind of knew I had a girlfriend.
Sure.
Really, I was in North Carolina, and they're out on the West Coast. And so I was home visiting my mom, and it was after my wife had told me that she's pregnant. I was like, oh boy. So I had to start making plans to get back out there. And so I told my mom, I said, hey, I gotta tell you something. And she knew right away.
They always do.
Dude, she did. She goes,
listen, they always do.
Oh, she knew. I was like, wow. She goes, I said, hey, this girl I've been dating? She goes, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
I go, yep.
So
I said, oh boy. I said, and I'm leaving to go get married. And she's like, all right.
How long were you guys dating before you got married?
Not long. Probably, this was in April. We got married in April. So the prior, like October, so not 6 months, maybe something like that.
And 37 years later,
oh
here
yeah,
we are.
yeah,
So
yeah. No, it was meant to be 100%. Yeah. And so yeah, I went to Korea, and she had the baby, and I came home, and saw the baby for a couple weeks and flew back to Korea, and then after that, so we were married in the Army, and been together ever since.
Good. We're gonna jump into, from the military, you went straight into law enforcement.
Well, I got out. Yeah, I was just deciding what I wanted to do when I was getting out, and I said, well, I want to go to college because I got this. They convinced me to sign up for this college fund program back when I was in. It was called VEAP, the Vietnam era Education Assistance Program, and so I said, well, I got this college money. I think I'll give college a try, because I'd met some guys, again, the leaders that you want to be like.
Sure.
And I'd met some guys that had been, enlisted guys first, and then they got out and went to college, and then came back in as officers and whatnot. And said, man, this guy's squared away, And I'm thinking, well, I need college, or I should go to college to just better myself, and not better. I mean, better myself in a more educational way.
Understood.
And so I did. I said, well, I'm going to get out. I want to go to use this college fund. And my wife's parents had already retired down here to Southwest Florida, and so they kind of had their own agenda. They wanted us closer because of the grandbaby, And so they said, well, come on down here. There's a college here. At the time it was USF here in Fort Myers, and it was Edison and USF.
Right.
And then So we got out and went to college for 4 years here and worked part-time, at a print supply company here in town.
Okay.
Just went to college and got my degree, but I knew I wanted to go into law enforcement and use that degree for that. So, so I did 4 years at college and then signed on with the sheriff's office. Well, I put myself through the academy, and then
Right.
during the academy, I signed on with the sheriff's office.
Let's before we dive into that, let's take a little break.
Sure.
We're
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
All right. This part of the podcast is brought to you by Vance Ranch. Vance Ranch is our family 100-acre ranch in Henry County. We have a 6,000 square foot barn where we host wedding venues, corporate events, anniversary parties, and whatever else you want to use it for. Find the link in the bio. Now let's get back to the show. All right, we're back from the break.
All right, there you go.
We had just, you're married.
Yeah.
You got your
Married very quickly.
You're married very quickly.
4 days.
For obvious reasons. Yeah. You out of the military, went to college for 4 years, and did the what's it called for become
the academy.
The academy.
Yep. Join the academy.
Join the academy, and now you are a police officer.
Yep. Signed on with the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
And you signed on right away with SWAT, or what was that?
No. There's a requirement there. You have to be on a little while. There was a 3-year requirement to be a deputy first, but I actually got a waiver and came on at 2 years because of my military experience and the things I did in the military that helped me.
Was that the goal all along? Did you?
Actually, no. I didn't even think about SWAT, until I got to the sheriff's office. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, you got a SWAT team, and wow, they do some cool stuff, and I'm like, that's what I want to do.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some cool stuff. The jumping out planes is cool. Let's talk about the tactical stuff of SWAT, like stuff that I wouldn't know. Like,
it's a lot to it. There's a whole lot to it. People associate SWAT with what they see on TV and stuff, and it's all Hollywood and dramatized and whatnot, and but yeah, it's it's basically it's a team of men that are trained tactically in specific skills to get specific missions accomplished. Basically, what we train for is the main ones are like hostage rescues and barricade subjects, high risk search warrants, VIP protection, things like that. But it's also for just any unusual circumstance, that the average, deputy's not going to be able to accomplish. And so
I feel like you and I are going to vibe on this one real good, because I'm already drawing lines to other things as you're talking. So keep going.
Yep. So, it's a lot of training, and it's, and the selection process as well is very, very difficult and demanding, and for good reason. We don't want people that are not going to be able to hold up. You
don't want somebody folding.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, it's a really rewarding unit to be a part of. And
I'm sure
I was fortunate to be a part of it for 25 years.
25 years. Yeah. I'm sure that's a pretty tight brotherhood.
Very, very, 100%. Yeah, I left at 25 years. I ultimately became the SWAT commander, and then I ended up eventually stepping down, as the younger guys are getting up there, and I'm starting to realize, other things in life that I wanted to do. And but it's still, absolutely part of me, everything. I mean, I still wear the hat, and so it's like, it's still part of you. It doesn't ever go away,
So as you were talking about with that job, how high the stakes are, I would imagine that you have to be ready, physically ready, your training readied up, I would imagine that you're like, it's like a
all the
consistently,
time. Yeah.
a lot of training
24/7.
and ready. And that vibes with me because as a husband, a father, grandfather, it's been impressed on me for virtually ever since I started having babies that there's no off season for me.
Absolutely.
So I'm drawing lines to the tactical thing with other things like, and that's where no off season as far as spirituality, no off season as far as, oh, my tummy hurts, so I'm not going to the work today.
Right.
No off season as far as being physically capable to handle the business.
Right.
If something goes down, I'm the one who's going to have to take care of it.
Absolutely. That, like I said, that spills over into real life, uh, all day long. I learned early on, in my career, that look, I have to be in the best physical shape I can be in,
Mm-hmm.
and mental shape, to serve the people of this community.
There you go.
They did deserve that. It's incumbent on me. I took on that responsibility.
Right.
I accepted that mission, that job.
Right.
And so, if I'm not performing up to my best, then they're not getting what they deserve. And,
And you become a liability.
yeah, absolutely. And, in those particular situations, you're talking about life and death. So,
Right.
there's no room for error. Failure is not an option. So, you have to be ready all the time. And that's why after 25 years, I was like, okay, 25 years of being on call 24/7, 365.
Mm.
It, after a while, now I've got some grandkids, and I'm like,
Right.
I think I'm gonna pass
Yeah.
that torch, But
Yeah.
you have to have that mindset. Otherwise, you have to be able to make that sacrifice and that commitment. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And like you said, it bleeds over into
Bleeds over.
your personal life. If you have to maintain being a good father. You have to maintain being a good provider, and spiritually keeping yourself up, that way as well. And, in order to perform and provide, because that's what men do. We provide, we step up and do what we're supposed to.
My brain is going into several different directions right now as we're hitting this because there's so much here we could talk about, and I want to dissect it. I was never in the military. I was never a police officer, but what you're describing, I felt that pressure on me. Like I said, as I have to take care of my wife, I have to take care of that children. Like I felt that responsibility.
Well, every man should feel that pressure.
And as you're talking, it's like, that's good. Make sure that I am being everything I'm supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
When you're 25 years in SWAT, let's kind of change not the subject, just kind of change the focus. What were some of the fitness regimens that you would go through to stay physically capable, to stay strong, to stay?
I've done every kind of workout you can think of, over the years, did a lot of running, a lot of CrossFit type stuff, lifting weights. And I kind of did a combination of both all the time. I wanted to be able to run a lot, and then not that I run a lot in the job, but, I want to be able to, what really comes to mind is just specifically, I was on a canine track, and I had left. I had not been working out for a while for some reason, and I remember having to track this guy, and with my dog, and it was a long track. It was probably a mile or two or something like that, and ended up finally getting the guy at the end of the track, and the fight was on, and I'm like,
and you're already winded.
I got it. We won, but I was like, man, I don't want to be winded like that again, and so that really pushed it pushed me into another level, and I said, I don't want to, not do that again, so I always want to be in the top physical shape I could be in. And so started a lot more cardio, a lot more, that high intensity type workouts and stuff. And, I was, a lot younger then. And then, I played sports too, here and there. We had an arena football team at the sheriff's office for a while. And I played hockey, things like that. So anything to just kind of keep you in shape, you know.
Right.
So, but a lot of lifting too.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna be 50 here in January, and I'm trying to extend that
Oh
strength and
yeah.
that fitness as long as possible.
Yep. Same here.
Um, not for aesthetics or anything else, just because I want to be strong for my kids, my grandkids,
Oh
and
yeah.
everything else. Be able to do whatever I need
Yeah.
to be done. Yeah. Plus, it just feels good, man.
Feels real good.
Feels good just to get out there and sweat and just
Mm-hmm.
get it going. Like you're just some. I've never heard anybody like I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't feel like it," but I've never heard anybody do a workout and say, oh, "I wish I hadn't done that."
Right. Yeah.
It always
Exactly.
feels good after, but
It
you got to
does.
go through the misery to get
Yeah.
the
To get to the good
reward, and
side. Yeah.
it's been
That's
worth it
life.
it's been
It's
worth
like
it every
life.
time.
That's what
Worth it every
life
time.
is. You got to go through the misery to get the good part, you know?
Let me make another shift in this pocket that we're in right now. I would imagine that you would I would imagine you see people or deal with people on their worst days in SWAT.
We deal with the worst in human condition. Yeah. It's the human condition can be really, really bad. Yeah. At times.
So my question is, when that's your job, dealing with depravity,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go home to have dinner with your wife or to be around your children, like, um, was there, was there, what was that like when you're trying to figure it out? Like, how do you shut it off? Do you shut it off? Do you learn how to compartmentalize things? Can you talk to
Yeah.
your wife and just, hey, baby, here's what I went through the day, or do you have to save her mind from that? Like, what's that process of?
So I was going to say, I'm very good at compartmentalizing everything. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I don't know. It's just part of me where I don't share it with my wife. I don't, I share that because, I don't want to put that on her,
Right.
she's, uh, and I'm not a guy that shares my feelings, like that. And
Right.
so, but on the other hand, a lot of stuff didn't bother me. I mean, it happened, but I just realized, I know that that's how life is, and, um, there's good and there's evil.
Right.
And we deal with the evil side most of the time. There's a lot of times where we deal with the good stuff, and there's, we there's a positive outcome. But, yeah, I didn't really, have an issue, like struggling with anything like that. I'm able to just shut it off, and, um, perfect example would be, during Hurricane Ian. We were out, from the very get go, doing rescue and recovery type stuff, and mostly recovery, obviously. So, we were plucking bodies out of the water and stuff, and out of the bushes and things like that. And then, there was some guys that had a little issue with,
Yeah.
that, and just handling bodies and stuff. But I kind of explained it to him like, hey man, that, that's just it's a,
Yeah.
it's a, it's a big, uh, pile of biological, you know,
Got it.
meat right now. It's nothing, it's a body, but that person's soul is already where it's going to be. It's, so right now we're just dealing with, uh, you know,
Yeah.
so, it's no different than something, an animal gets hit on the side of the road or something. But, s I tried to explain it like that, like don't look at it as a living human being with feelings or anything. It's just, that person's soul is already where it's going to be. And, so let's just,
Do the job.
do the job.
You look at it as a job. So my father, he's a minister. He's a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been observing him my whole life, and dealing with, like, I keep my circle pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my circle pretty small. As a pastor, you don't have the prerogative to adjust the size of your circle. When people are hurting, it's
Right.
your job to deal with it.
Yes.
And that's why I believe that being a pastor is a calling, because it takes a special person to do that.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
also look at emergency responders and police officers the same way, because you have to be able to, like you said, compartmentalize and deal with it. Not everybody can.
Right.
A couple weeks ago, I was taking my other son-in-law. He was real bad. He was sick, man. He's like, had that stomach thing for like weeks.
Sure.
He was dehydrated. Our family was in Orlando. He was home by himself. I called him, wasn't on his phone, so I was worried about him.
Yeah.
Went and picked him up, took him straight to the hospital, and I didn't want to get sick, so I'm sitting in the truck, just waiting in the parking lot. But as I'm sitting in the truck, I'm seeing sick people go in this hospital, and I'm just thankful that there's a hospital that sick people can go to.
Yes.
The Metaflight flew in while I was sitting in the parking lot, so somebody was in bad shape.
Sure. Yep.
And the emergency people rush out, they grab, and I was just thankful for people that answer the call, and that there's someone on the other side of the equation. There's a hurt, but there's someone there for the rescue.
Right.
And I'm
there's
thankful.
a resource.
There you go. And I'm thankful that there's somebody on the other side of the equation that answered the call.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't be that doctor or nurse that's doing that. I don't think I could do your job, Steve, because I think I would come home, I think it would just crush me.
Right.
But it makes me thankful for you and people like you that answer that call, and that can, because I would imagine if it wasn't a calling, that you could become very bitter, that you could become very, like, look at humanity in a very way where you see everything through a lens of what your
Right.
job is like.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you can't be like that at home.
Right. And
You
there's
can't-
some guys, so there's some people like that, you know,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. You can't get everybody to think the same, you know,
Right.
or process and process that kind of information and those feelings the same way. So you're right, you do get people with a jaded sense of life and whatnot. I look at it like, look, God's got a plan for everybody and everything on this planet, and it's part of the plan, and
Right.
if this person is, something's happening, then it's for a reason, and so it kind of takes the guilt and the weight of responsibility off of you, and so yeah, I just have I guess I have a real multifaceted sense of humor, which is what gets me through,
Understood.
most of life. So, but some people don't, they don't analyze it that way.
It sounds like faith plays a big part in your job, because you've mentioned
It
God's
does.
will. You've mentioned
Yes,
you've
yeah.
mentioned this a lot. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that may be your
Well, that's what at the core of it, that's what you turn to, and then, that's who's ultimately creating a plan.
Right.
We all think we can plan our lives and do
Right.
that, and we do. You have a certain amount of control over how your life is.
We
but
have a
your
free will, right?
But your destiny's already
There
planned
you
out.
go. Yeah.
And so, that journey and that path to that destiny is you can control some of that, but there's monkey wrenches that get thrown in there, and they're thrown in there for a reason.
Yeah.
You might not think that. You might think that, oh man, why did this happen? But if you sit back and you analyze it and think, well, why did that happen? Well, maybe it happened for a good reason.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because I spoke just last night to a friend of mine about a heartbreaking matter. And he said, as long as Christ is on the throne, it's all good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As long as
100%.
he's on the throne, it's all good, because he is sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
And it is comforting to know that, yes, I do have responsibilities. I need to know what my responsibilities are and manage those responsibilities. But overarching all that is God's responsible for all of it.
Yeah.
And he has a perfect will. I might not be able to understand or see it, but he is doing his will and his work. And it's comforting, because I tend to take on more than what I'm supposed to. I
Right.
want to
Yeah.
take on I want to take it all on. I want to
Yeah.
carry all the burden.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's only one person that can do that, and that's Jesus
Mhm.
Christ. He can only carry all of it. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Definitely.
anything else in SWAT that I feel like I might be missing some stuff here in SWAT? I feel like that's a good one there.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's challenging, but it's very, very rewarding, when you're helping somebody or saving somebody or whatnot, or, like I said, getting the evil element off,
Mm,
off the streets or, out of people's lives. It's very rewarding. And, it's, like I said, it's part of, you know, the whole being a man thing,
sure.
it's like, society needs men,
Sure.
to do man things. And,
Yeah.
and it's not always pretty and it's not always, glamorous and it's dangerous,
Mm,
and, um, we need men to realize that, nobody else is coming to save you,
mm,
men have to get up and protect
right.
the rest of society and keep things moving,
Mm.
and if we don't have those men, then, like I said, it starts to spin into chaos.
And
So,
you witnessed
yeah.
that.
What's that?
And you've witnessed
Oh
that.
yeah, 100%. So, um, you know, men do hard things, and sometimes, most of the time it pays off very well. Sometimes there's a sad ending, but there's a price to pay sometimes.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your service to our community.
Mm-hmm.
I love first responders, man. Like I said, I love pastors and I love first responders because without those people between holding the line between chaos and what we have now,
Sure.
I mean, it can you can see how it can spiral quick. You look at any of these hurricanes, when
Yeah.
somebody ain't holding that line, you can see how it can spin out quick.
Sure.
So
Well, you look at these third world countries and stuff that don't have a proper sense of order and
right,
their society and whatnot, and it's chaos,
yeah.
and like, wow, you know. So it's nice to know that.
So you are a captain now. You've been a
Yeah,
captain for 5 years.
somewhere around, yeah, I think about 5 years.
What's
now.
life like for you right now?
Life's great. Right now I'm watch commander for the
Okay.
county and day shift watch commander, which is nice. I've had just a wonderful, blessed career at the sheriff's office.
Good.
Been a great place to work. Awesome people,
Mhm.
just um, and I put in the work, put in a lot of hard
Sure.
work, um, and they've rewarded me for it,
And should
and
have and should.
yeah, but it's a give and take,
Right.
you got to live life, with some humility and,
Mhm.
some, just working hard and that kind of thing. And I think it's really, had done everything I wanted to do at the sheriff's office, and I'm kind of winding down my career. I'll be
Yeah.
gone next year, and so they've allowed me to, hold this position, and
Good.
it's kind of it's not.
They're taking care of you.
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm not in tactical support any
Right.
longer. Not getting the phone calls at 3 a.m. and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's nice. I've been able to sort of. It's a nice transition.
Good.
I've got the cattle thing going on, so that really helps me manage that, because that's probably more of a full-time thing than my
Is
my
it really?
yeah. It's
How many
so I
cows do
mean,
you have right now? I know
I
you're
got
not supposed to as a
30,
cattleman.
yeah, it's like 34, 35, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just constant because I've got them spread out.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of a it's always something. So that, and between that and the bees and stuff, so it's a nice transition into that that next chapter.
When you go to mess around with the cows, take care of the cows or whatever, um, what's that mindset like for you? Is it like, oh no, is it like a job or is it?
No, absolutely not, man. It's something I wanted to do that my entire life.
Mm.
Like I said, growing up out in California, I was very early on exposed to, we lived in an equestrian area and
Right.
neighborhood or whatever. And so I was exposed to everything to do with horses, and I worked with my neighbor. He was a farrier, and so, learned all about shoeing horses and got involved in, got to exposed to rodeo stuff and whatnot. And so I just always, that lifestyle was always, I've been attracted to that. And my grandparents came from that, from West Texas, up in the Panhandle. They all grew up cattle ranching, things like that. So then, of course, when I moved to Oregon, I immediately started, working in farms and ranches and just doing all that. And so it's always just been part of what I like. And, I've been attracted to that. And so when I found an opportunity to kind of jump into that here, I did. And so it's something I love to do. It's, it's really very rewarding, and it's peaceful, man. It's just,
Listen, that's the word I was looking for.
tell you what, man, it brings, when I get out there, I'm just like, and you live, I mean, you got the property next door, and it just, when I get out there, I'm like, man, this is it, man.
I'm glad you said that, because that's the word I was looking for. Because my life, I have a few different businesses, and my life is, I have a certain level of stress, not the stress that you're talking about,
It's
where
different,
it's
same
life
though.
and death,
It's the same thing,
but
yeah.
still stress. But when I ride 40 minutes out there,
Yeah.
and I clap my hands, and the cows
Yeah.
come running to
Yeah.
be fed, and just a connection to nature, and,
Yep.
and those, just being around those cows, I can just feel my stress come down. I just
Yeah.
just something about, and then those cows, man, it's so
Yeah.
stupid. This is
Yeah.
so stupid. Those cows have different personalities.
Oh yeah, every one of them.
You know what I mean? They have
every
different
one of 'em.
personalities, and like, it's just a stupid cow. But now
Yeah.
I know each one of those cows, and they like know me, and
Yeah,
it's just like,
exactly.
I've never experienced it before, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
Yep.
enjoying that connection to whatever that is.
Well, it's, it comes back to, like, early times in the development of this country and everything. It's just that self-sustainability. I mean, that's how, we, of course, everything, a lot of stuff's industrialized now.
Right.
I mean, feeding the country and the world's all been
Sure.
industrialized and all, but before that, it was that agrarian society type thing. And local people provided for themselves and for their communities and things like that. And these small herds and
Right.
people, growing, crops and vegetable stuff. And it kind of that feel, and kind of getting back to that sort of sense of self-sustainability and
I'm enjoying it.
taking care of, and, so like raising them is, it's just fun,
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Fun taking the grandkids out there.
Oh yeah. They love it, man. They love it. And I took my grandson, I had to go get a new bull, last week, and we rode way, there's a ranch way out south of Clewiston between there and Immokalee. And I took my grandson out there, and he was just in awe, We went to this ranch, and they sell just bulls, and he just thought that was the best thing in the world, going out there, cruising around. And you know what? I mean, that's a learning experience for him. Those are experiences that he will never forget. And that's why I try to take them as much as I can and get them involved. And it's because that's the kind of things I was exposed to.
There you
as a
go.
child, and it helps develop them. And they're all homeschooled, and so they can also get credit for all that.
Yeah.
And they, so everything's a learning experience for them.
That's a good transition, because you brought up something that I'm living right now. I have, I think, 5 grandchildren now. One more on the way. I think there's 6 of them right now. Hopefully that's right.
Can you name them all and recite their birthdays?
If my wife was sitting here, I would.
Yeah.
But just this, your life is slowing down.
Yeah.
My life.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
My from what it was.
Yeah.
My life is slowing down a little bit compared to what it was when I was raising those 7 kids and just busting butt every day, under pressure, and missing memories.
Yes.
Not that I wasn't there, but mentally I'm just consumed with the pressure that I'm under just to survive.
Yeah. Same path.
And that was my lot in life, and I don't regret it.
Right.
That's the cards I was dealt. Happy to
Mhm.
do it, thankful to do it, and my life had purpose, feeding those babies to take care of them. I got purpose out of that. But my role, my grandkids, with how my life has slowed down a little bit, and I can take some time just to be
Enjoy them.
around
That's the same with me.
and
Yeah.
take care of them in a different way
Mm-hmm.
that mom and daddy are taking care of them,
Yes.
and just kind of like let them. That's what I love about having the property out there, is just slowing down and trying to let them experience
Let
things
them
that I
be.
experience, and
Yeah.
let them
Let them
be.
be.
Just let
Yeah.
them be. It's not
Yeah.
my job to raise you. It's not my job to discipline. It's not my
Yeah.
job to discipline you.
Yeah.
It's just my
Exactly.
job to be here and love you.
Yeah.
And I'm
Uh-huh.
loving it, man.
Oh yeah. Man. Believe me, I'm same boat. It's just been such a delight, and we my wife and I for a while we were, I guess, we obviously we were empty nesters, but we were like empty nesters like in the state. Our kids were gone; they were all in different states, and so it didn't. We were thinking, oh, what are we going to do when we retire? Where are we going to go? What's going to be our final? Where are we going to go? Kind of thing. Are we going to stick around here and everything? And and so we were kind of thinking about, I really love to go back out west, and I love it out there,
Sure.
my home and everything. Um, but then, all of a sudden,
There you
God's
go.
planned, both of my kids moved back to Florida
Mm.
within like a 2 or 3 month period. And, my son with all his kids
Yeah.
and my daughter. And we were like, well, guess what? We're staying here for a while,
There you go.
So it was, and it's so nice, the kids, I mean, literally live, I don't know, 10 minutes down the street
Good
from
job.
us. And so, my wife, she's in heaven with that, cause they are calling her, hey, can you come watch the kids? And,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And so,
Karen and
it's
I have talked
awesome.
about eventually wanting to build out in Clewiston on that property,
Yeah.
but it's a 40-minute drive.
Right.
I just can't do it when I got 2 grandbabies living right across the street.
Yeah.
Another one on the way over here,
Right.
and one 5 minutes down the road. I just can't do it, man. We
Right.
can all go together,
Yeah.
or we
Yeah.
can all stay right here. But I'm not. 'Cause
Yeah.
Michael, and my daughter Brooke, they live in the Cape.
Okay.
They're about 45 minutes that way,
Yeah.
and they're on my heart a lot, but I'm not there a lot because
Sure.
that 40 minutes is a distance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just don't want to give that up. So
No, I
anyway.
hear you. Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying about changing big plans because
Yeah,
grandbabies show up and they're close by. Yeah. It's
Yep. And
rewarding.
again, that's one of those times when you're like, when you think you have a plan,
Right.
but you don't really,
Yeah.
So,
Let's make the transition here. Name of the podcast is Still Strong after adversity, still strong after life just kicks you in the stomach. You got to make a move. You got to figure it out. But also, still strong at our age. Still strong at our age. Not that youthful strength, but that freaking old man strength.
Yeah.
That strength that's got some experience behind it. You're one of those guys.
Okay.
You're one of those guys. How old are you now?
I'll be 60 in April.
Okay, so you got 10 years on me, but you're a strong man.
Try to be.
What's your physical regimen nowadays? You don't have to be ready for tactical.
Right. Yeah.
Those days are past, but I know you still have a regiment to stay
I do.
strong. So let's talk about that.
I do. And of course, as we get older too, we injure quicker and we take longer to heal. So right now I'm dealing with a shoulder thing, and but normally if I wasn't dealing with the shoulder thing, I'd do a lot of heavy lifting, deadlifts and squats,
Those
bench type stuff, heavy dumbbell bench.
Yeah.
And a lot of you walk. I don't run that much anymore. Because I can get a lot of cardio just from the heavyweight workout.
That's true, and there's science behind that as well.
Yes, no, I agree. And so I get a lot of cardio, when I'm doing a bunch of, deadlifts, and I'm like, geez, or a bunch of heavy squats, whatnot. But, I do a lot of walking on the treadmill, and, I do like that Stairmaster thing, that's pretty cool. It gets me sweating and gets me, breathing hard. So I do need to breathe hard. But
my wife, years ago, she's going to the gym. I went with her. She hopping on that Stairmaster. I'm thinking this thing is a freaking joke.
Oh, it's no joke.
It is no joke, dude.
No, it's no joke.
It was no joke.
Yeah, I do that. I had early on when I was 44 years old, ended up with a heart condition that I had to get repaired. And since then, I've been really in tune with
Mm.
my heart and everything. So that's, uh, I try to do everything I can to keep that strength
Be
and
smart about
yeah,
it.
be smart
Yeah.
about that. But, yeah, I mean, I try to eat well, my diet, um, I'm like anybody, like I like my sweets every now and then,
Sure.
but I try to stick with a mainly a higher protein diet, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of meat and eggs and things like
There you
that.
go.
But
Yeah.
for me, variety, and variety and moderation,
Right.
in your diet. There's no one specific diet that works for,
Right.
you gotta dial into yourself and know what works for you. That you get these influencers and stuff on all over the internet telling you this is the right diet or this is the only thing you should do. And, you know, it's a guide, everything's a
Right.
guide. I feel like, the high protein, diet works for me. I've cut out a lot of carbs
Mm-hmm.
and I feel comfortable. I feel better. So, I still, I'll go have a big slice of cake, but,
Right.
or have some toast or something now, but, everything's moderation, and so,
It is kind of nice to. I've been physically active for several years now, and I have a little bit of understanding of how the body works and how I feel when I eat right and what I lift.
right.
And it feels good to not be so regimented as I get older
Yes.
that, hey, if I don't do this, I just messed up my workout. To leave yourself some room that if something's hurting, it's better off just to
Right.
relax, like to give yourself some
Some recovery time. Yes.
not some laziness or a way out,
Right.
but hey,
No, it's being smart about it.
there you go. If I
Yeah.
need and understanding how the body works and how the body feels and being in
Yep.
tune to it. If something don't, I was doing some squats the other day and something in my knee. I had one more rep to go, but something in my knee just felt like it might not be smart. And I was perfectly fine with just racking it.
I do that all the
I
time.
was perfectly fine with it. I'm not 20 anymore.
Right.
And
Yep.
if I take a risk, that's worse.
Yeah, I do that. I do
So
that all
just,
the time now. I'll be lifting and all of a sudden I'm like, that just, if I do one more rep, I think I'm going to hurt something and I'll just stop. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm going to do
and
something.
it's
And
okay.
I've learned to just sit back, take a breath and go, you know what, I'm moving forward. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
I'm
Yeah.
moving forward. So, because I'm not, hitting a PR today or something or whatever. I don't even keep that any
Right.
longer. But,
Right.
back when I was younger, that was, oh man, I want to bench 320 or whatever, 325 or whatever. And I'm like, not anymore. I just put on what I feel like I can handle and
Sure.
I do it. And if all of a sudden it starts to hurt, I'm like, I'm taking, take a few break, take a few days off, whatever. But
I'm glad to know that you're doing it too. 'Cause
oh yeah, no, you have to because we don't, like I said, I don't even know how I injured my shoulder. I don't really, it's like when you get older, you just like, oh, you wake up and you're like, man, why does that hurt? What did I do? I don't know. So, I've been laying off the gym for a while just because of my shoulder. So
And
I'm
it's
like,
okay.
and it
And it's
doesn't
okay.
bother me.
Right.
It used to bother me, back in my, 30s and stuff. And if I didn't get to the gym, man, I just felt like this anxiety, like, oh God, you didn't go, you're losing,
Right.
that's a setback. Well, it's not a setback,
Right.
so you're actually getting better. You're recovering. I didn't,
Yeah.
put two and two together, but
Yeah. That's good stuff.
yeah.
Well, I
So
think we're gonna about ready to wrap this up.
sure.
I appreciate you coming. I'm glad you are our first person here.
Well, I hope this works out for
This
you,
is
man.
this is gonna go. Hopefully, if everything goes right, this is gonna go live on Christmas.
Okay.
The last question I'm gonna ask you is, the podcast called Still Strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's geared towards guys like us that are getting older and still getting after it smartly. But I think the main thing that inspired me to start this was still strong after that thing that just kicked you in the stomach, and I don't see a way forward out of this. Um, what would you say to someone who feels anything but strong right now, that's just in the middle of it? That's maybe bewildered by circumstances. Maybe they just got a call from the doctor, or their husband just say, I divorced, like whatever that causes a state of bewilderment. Through your experience, what would you say to someone who's just feeling incredibly weak right now? Just where do I go from here?
Well, I mean, and it's an overused term, but I think that, if you have hope, and a positive mental attitude and, and the understanding that nothing's ever definite,
Mm,
there's always changes and different chapters in your life,
mm,
and there's always opportunities elsewhere.
mm,
And, we're all on the same journey, basically. We're all on a journey from life to death.
mm,
And there's a million different ways to get there and in different paths to get that way. And if you're on a certain path now and all of a sudden, you're hitting a roadblock and you're, there's something's going on and it's just not right or whatever, there's always an opportunity to start something different and go and head in a different direction. One of my key philosophies is just being flexible and being able to pivot.
mm.
And I've had to do that my entire career. And, it's in the jobs we do, it's an ever changing fluid, situation. And you're just going to have to learn to be flexible and pivot on certain things. Well, it's kind of that way in life too. Life throws, monkey wrenches at you and obstacles all the time. And you just got to be able to shoot the gaps, just like in football, you're running a ball towards this gap, all of a sudden it gets full, boom, grab another gap, and gain that yardage. So if you feel like, there's always a light at the end of a tunnel somewhere else, you shift and head that
Mm.
way, you know, and, uh, and reach out to people that you can depend on
There you go.
to maybe help you along that way, help you get headed in that direction. There's always somebody that is willing to help, and just be just just have a positive attitude, and
Would you?
understand that you don't have complete control over everything. So if something's happening in your life, it's happening for a reason. And it's
And
it's part of God's plan. And if you don't accept that, some people will sit there and just beat their head against that wall,
yeah.
and not realizing that this is the way it's meant to be. So you should probably take this turn over here,
Mm.
and head towards that door, you know.
And in my experience, those hardships have always been temporary.
They are.
It's temporary.
And you always come out on the other side going, man, why didn't I, why didn't I do this in the first place? Or why did I, but,
And a lot of
but
times,
it's a learning experience along
and
the
a
way
lot
too.
of times, the why, the answer to the why, doesn't come till much later.
Right. Yeah.
And then you look back and you actually look at those times and you actually become grateful for them because you saw how you grew through those times.
Well,
in my
yeah.
experience.
Yeah. And it's called wisdom,
Yeah.
and I always laughed as a kid, like, oh, these old wise men and everything. But, it's so true,
Yeah.
it's so true that you get wiser as you get older, and it's just from life experience, and
Yeah.
it's going through those doors that, you thought, well, this is, I don't know what's behind this door, but like, oh, wow, I'm glad I went through this door. I'm glad this happened that forced me to go through this door,
Yeah.
you know?
That's good. And realizing that you're not the only one.
No.
I get a mindset when things get hard, I get quiet, I lock down, and I'm learning to not do that because I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that's gone through this. And to just be, there's a lot of other people on this planet going through the same
Right.
thing, and just
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
like gain my perspective back.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I tend to internalize things and make it more than what it is, and just be able
Sure.
to just have somebody to talk to,
Yep.
go to prayer, go to the Word of God, just get something to settle your mind and
Absolutely.
just get you through it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And also, I mean, you talk about just globally, there's people all over the world going through the same issues or whatever, but just to remember how fortunate we are
right.
as Americans to be in this country going through these issues,
Right.
because this country is nothing but opportunity, and,
Amen to that.
and it's the land of opportunity,
Yeah.
they call it that for a reason. And so anybody that's facing, any kind of, mental adversity or whatever, just realize you're in probably the best country in the world to get through all that,
Yeah.
and move on to a new opportunity, a better life over here or there, and just have that realization that there's always like I said, there's always somebody hurting worse than you are. You know?
Well, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate
Yeah.
you coming here and spending time with us.
Absolutely.
And, looking forward to posting this and
Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah.
sharing it with everybody
Yeah.
on Christmas. So I'm excited, man.
Yeah, so am I. It's gonna be quite an adventure for you. You know, a new chapter.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
door.
Amen to that. All right, brother. Thank you.
Yep.